Hello, Karen Swain here. What do our Star Nation brothers and sisters want from humanity? And when will they finally disclose themselves globally so that every human here on Earth understands we are a part of a cosmic universe teeming with life and we have so much to learn? Stay tuned.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
G'day, Karen Swain here on Accentuate the Positive, expanding and awakening consciousness on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Public Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM. So great to be with you all again. We're going to cruise around the cosmos today with Nancy Thames, who is a lifelong contactee. She'll be on real soon. But first, I wanted to tell you about a new show that I've been doing maybe once or twice a month with a friend of mine, a friend and a client, Sandra Marie, medium. She has been, she's been a medium for almost 15 years, but she has been living in the Bible Belt in the States. I'm sure there's Bible Belts in Australia too. I just don't know of any, but I'm sure there are, where she was basically in the closet for many years because, Christianity and different religions think that psychic ability and telepathic ability and all that sort of stuff that we do as conscious awakening humanity is the devil's work. There's some work to do around transforming those paradigms. So we've been getting her out there and we've been doing free messages from Spirit on the shows. We did one a couple of days ago where you have an opportunity to ask Sandy or myself if there's a message from a loved one who has passed. So let me know if you want to join those. I think we'll do one in another couple of weeks. I was going to do them weekly, but both Sandy and I didn't have time to do them weekly. And I'll invite other mediums to come on too if they want to deliver messages. I just want to expand this. What am I trying to say? This psychic ability that we all have, the knowing that we're all psychic. And interestingly enough, a lot of what the spirits say, people who have exited the matrix, as I say, who have passed out of this time-space reality, tell us that we are all psychic and that we can communicate. All of us can communicate with the people who have what is called crossed over or died or have left the matrix. But we don't have to open up shop as a psychic, but we all have that psychic ability to communicate with our spirit guides, with our galactic family, and with the people that we've known in this lifetime or others who have finished their life here on Earth and are now doing things in other dimensions. It is something that our galactic brothers and sisters really want us to expand and understand as a human race, is our telepathic or psychic intuitive abilities. We've been playing with it for a long time here on Earth. We call it gut feeling, intuition, a mother's intuition, a woman's intuition. We've got all these phrases about how we can do this, but it needs to be something more. For many races throughout the cosmos, their way of communicating, this is their default setting. They have an understanding, masters of mind, they have an understanding of communication through telepathic communication, downloading messages. And you'll see on the shows, my shows and many other shows, that people who call themselves channels and they receive packets of information. It's like you can receive so much information in 1 second. It would take an hour to speak it, but you've received it in a second. So this is the power of telepathic communication. And I think that our cosmic brothers and sisters really want us to get a handle on that before they really disclose themselves here on Earth, because many of them communicate in that way. And many abductees or contactees have said that when they are in the presence of other races throughout the cosmos, this is the way that they communicate. Oh, they put thoughts in my head or images in my head. They communicated telepathically. So we've got the beautiful Shirley and Vladdy online. Hi, guys. Great to see you. Let's bring Nancy up. We've had a few tech difficulties today. So welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
Welcome to
Yes,
the
thank
show.
you. I'm here, but I don't have all my little things working, but I'm here.
We couldn't manage to get her green screen happening, so she's got the green behind her, but not the image. I've got a green screen
Exactly.
green
Yeah.
behind
I
me
missed
too.
my UFO behind me, but that's okay. No big deal.
Yeah, she normally has a UFO behind her. Hi, Penny. Penny says hello. Hello, Karen and Nancy. Good to see you online. Yeah, we've got a great show for you today. Nancy is a lifelong contactee, and she's had many experiences and big in the disclosure movement and what I was talking about. Let me tell you a little bit about Nancy. She has been all over the place. Actually, Nancy and I have known each other online for a long time, haven't we? And it's been a long time coming, this conversation. It's Diane. She says hi from California. I'm excited to be here for this conversation. Me too, Diane. So Nancy Thames is a lifelong contactee, as I said, and a former employee of the Department of Defense. Her life, marked by personal struggles, transformed profoundly through her continuous extraterrestrial encounters. These experiences, although initially suppressed, were eventually embraced by Nancy as she began to understand their purpose in her life and for humanity collectively. Nancy's work underscores a collective call to awakening. She stresses that the experiences often labeled as abductions are, in her understanding, enlightened contact, part of a broader benevolent interaction with extraterrestrial entities aiming to usher humanity into a new era of cosmic participation. I love that. Don't you love that? Cosmic participation. Yeah. She has come to the decisive conclusion that humanity is ready and it is now time for disclosure. Her dedication to the cosmic narrative inspired her to create her website, which is timefordisclosure.com, a platform advocating for open dialogue about extraterrestrial interaction and the greater implications for humanity. So cool. And Lynn says, hi, Karen and Nancy. Hi, Lynn. Great to see you for this conversation. So, yeah, so it sounds like you had contact as a child and then initially suppressed and it reawakened. How old were you when it reawakened?
Well, it never ended, but I learned to suppress it because I wasn't able to talk about it. You know, it was something that when I did try, I was shut down immediately with my family when I was like 2 or 3, or the first times that I had the first conscious memories. And when I would go tell my mom and dad, they would just start laughing and say, go back to bed. That's some kind of dream you're having there. You know, so it was, they didn't mind it so much when I was little. They just thought that was part of, you know, being young. But as I got older, it was quite differently. My parents both worked out within the community and were well known and very well known within the community. So it was just, and it was the Bible Belt. I grew up in the South in the Bible Belt, and these things were considered demonic or either a mental health issue. And my mom and dad, or especially my dad, told me, you cannot talk about these things at school, with other family members, at Girl Scouts, your sporting, you know, friends, nowhere. You cannot talk about this because you will get ridiculed and labeled, and you will have no friends, and people will not let you be friends with their children if you run around talking about these things. And I figured out quickly that, you know, he was telling me the truth. That's the way that, you know, the society in our area, how they looked upon these type things. So I learned to suppress it for my own good. And so, you know, and I was perfectly fine with all this. And it really wasn't, when I was young, it was beautiful. You know, I was not scared. Nothing in the world had made me form any opinions, or, you know, I didn't have any belief systems or anything to influence me. So really and truly, it wasn't until about junior high or high school that I started to realize what other people were saying, and I would slip around in bookstores and look at magazines and books pertaining to these subjects. And then I could see that other people were having experiences that were not like mine. So when I realized this, it made me question my belief, my who I am, and what I was experiencing. And rather than being the beautiful little kid having an experience and having fun, it turned into I became fearful. I was, I've had the ability all along, or I think they do this intentionally, but I know at least 15 to 20 minutes, probably more like 15, that they are coming. And that gives my brain time to decide how I'm going to interact or how I'm going to handle the situation. But at that age, teenage years, I would just keep the covers up and I would pretend like I was asleep. They, of course, know if you're asleep or not asleep since they're telepathic. But so anyway, and they would go through the whole process, taking a handheld device, and they would run it. A female gray would do this. They always travel in threes, and the female I am bonded with, and I do love her, and she loves me, and she's been with me since birth. And I now know, now that I'm older, that she was with me in past lives as well. She's always been like a guardian, or, I don't know, different people have different names for these type entities, but she's very special to me. But she would take a handheld device and run it from head to toe, toe to head. And when I was young, I did not know what she was doing, but I did know after a period of time, my body would vibrate at a very high frequency. And then I would start to elevate off the bed. And then she would take me by the hand and lead me up through a ceiling or through a door or through a window. And I can remember going through the attic and looking around and seeing boxes and storage and Christmas decorations and thinking and even asking her, how are you doing this? But she never would answer me when I was younger. So I now know what they were doing is that they were taking my human frequency, elevating it to match their frequency. That way I could travel through the wall or door like they do. So, so that continued on throughout my life. And I later found out that if I wanted to get over this fear, because when I started experiencing fear, rather than forcing me through the experience, they would touch me on the forehead and black me out and put me in a like state. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? When they
Sure.
did this device and they scanned your body and it changed your frequency and then they took you up through the ceiling, I don't know if you remember this. I mean, have they done this as an adult? But did they literally lift your consciousness out of your body, or did they change the molecules of your physical body? Physical body.
My physical body. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And when I was little, I remember like this scan like device going. It was basically, it felt like a scan, and it would go up and down, and then I would look down. My bed is empty, and I would grab her hand and she would be holding mine, and I'd be, like touching everything because I wanted to affirm it to myself. Because, when I would talk about this, like, ask questions to my dad and stuff in a roundabout way, he was like, oh, humans can't do things like that. It's very,
sorry, I'm just going to stay on this because this fascinates me. So when they elevated you above the bed, did they take you through the walls, like through the ceiling?
Yes.
And through the attic. And through the attic. That fascinates me. So in your physical, look, this is something that I've heard many contactees say. And as humans, we say, well, that's impossible. You must be crazy, or you must be making it up, or you're having a dream, but if we understand that everything is quantum, everything is energy, that actually Deepak Chopra used to say 30 years ago, and I listened to him, the stuff of the universe is non-stuff. Nothing is stuff, because when you keep going down to the smallest and smallest and smallest and smallest particle of life, you find that the particles are just energy. Everything is energy. So they understand energy, and they understand.
They can just take your atoms and
you're right,
change it molecularly, and then you can do these things just like they do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was bizarre, and I, for a long time that bothered me, and it wasn't something that you'd run around telling anybody because of their reactions. So I realized though that when I started to experience fear, that my conscious part, they would black me out and put me in a that blackened out. It's like being, well, I was really functional, and a lot of times they would let me come back conscious as they were walking me back to my room or putting me in the bed. So I figured out that my fear was blocking my experience, and they telepathically told me that I would have to work on that, because it was something in my mind that was blocking the experience. And they are telepathic. Whatever we feel, they feel 10 times the amount. In their reality, they don't experience anger, negativity, or fear, or anything, any negative aspect. So they do not like this feeling. And so they tap you out because they don't like the feeling, and they're there on a mission, on a task. They're not there to play games. They're not there to do experiments like people think. They're simply on, a task, and they're there to get the job done. So there's no negotiating. If you can experience it and have it mentally prepared for it, it's great. You can have a full conscious experience. But if you can't, then it's going to happen regardless of whether you're with the program or not. So I learned very quick that I had to face my fears. And it didn't happen overnight. And I failed many times, trying to do it was very frustrating, but I learned how to just push myself into it. And I would tell myself when I felt that they were coming, it would start to have that overwhelming flood of fear. And I would just say, you know what this is, push through it. You can do this. And it was a slow progress, but I finally mastered it. And, but there's still times that I can be fully conscious and having the experience, but then something else might throw me off track, because what I've noticed is that even though you feel it at first, once you're holding hands and once you're, feeling the temperature of their skin and they're letting you touch them and you're, embracing each other, you forget about all that fear just like that. As quick as it came, it goes. So, and it's just a process. And that's one reason why I say, I think most people that have so-called abductions never got past that horrific fear. And it's real. It is absolutely real. And our brain. Yeah.
I've just had a bit of an aha moment because many extraterrestrials don't operate on the same bandwidth of emotional scale as humans do. So we have the opportunity to feel extreme bliss and extreme, depression and suicide thoughts and all that. But they operate on a different emotional bandwidth. And for anyone that's a sensitive or an empath or a psychic, you know that when you do raise your vibration and you come into contact with negative emotions, they are so much louder and more intense and more painful than they were when you sort of were in a more negative default setting. Like if you're constantly depressed and angry, like sort of ornery, as Esther Hicks would say, like just everything about life, like, I hate that person, I hate that politician, that ornery stuff, then feeling one step lower than that doesn't feel like a big leap. But if you're in a place of bliss and happiness and acceptance, when you hit an angry thought or a negative thought, it feels so much larger. So I'm thinking that to them, our fear and terror when they are contacting us or, bringing us up on chips and stuff, must be almost toxic to them, almost painful.
It is. It is. Yeah. They explain it. They feel it 10 times the amount that we feel. And here's the deal for me, it is not what they look like at all. It is not what they look like. It is the frequency exchange between a higher, they're at a much higher frequency than we are. And we're not used to being around anything like that. And our brain just goes kind of like, what in the world? Because it's a combination of extreme fear, way up there fear, and euphoria all balled up in one, and your brain is just like, what do I do? and because of who we are, and we see it as a predator. So when people black out, they come back and they have what we now know, which they call missing time or fragmented memories. And a lot of times their brain fill in these missing gaps with their belief system or any prior influences they may have, like from movies or books or hearing other people say things. And then they figure that their brain just assumes that it's probably a negative experience. But in reality, it isn't. The fear comes from us. It is because we don't understand the experience or the frequency difference. Our brains don't even know how. It's not our fault. I mean, we just simply, it is part of our evolution is to learn to understand fear and how to, and now we're having to understand, the frequency exchange between higher dimensional beings. And it does not mean that they're negative, because they're not. It means that we don't understand it. Yeah.
When you talk about, and many people have talked about this, the fact that they have, well, I don't know if it's complete control, but they have somewhat control over our consciousness, over whether we're conscious or awake or asleep, or what they can paralyze us, or they can,
yes.
I think that, like you say, and I've had other people on the show say too, Donna Lynn said the same thing, they often put us out or make us paralyzed or put us in a state of stasis for their protection because of the terror and the fear that people are going through. And her story is similar to yours, in that she had to learn to deal with her fear, and she wrote a book called From Fear to Love, because that's what her experience was, going from complete terror to absolute love. And but if they were malevolent beings and they have that control, then they could do terrible things to humanity globally. But obviously they're not malevolent, they're benevolent. And because they have that amount of control over human consciousness and human minds, it's incredible how much.
Here's another thing, Karen. They are billions of years ahead of us in evolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the people that come back and have these horror stories of probing, of stealing this, eggs and sperm, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that they did not do anything that was genetic or whatever. I was not there, but I do know that they are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. And I know that when we go to a gynecologist or a genetic specialist, our ways are way beyond anything like what people are claiming they do. So there's no way. They just misunderstood, and they perceived it wrong. If they wanted to do, all of our DNA is in their library bank, in our DNA, everything they need, our genetics and everything is in their knowledge banks. So we simply come up with all these perceptions. And really, if you think about it, the way that we do, our doctors do treat us on the table now at this day and time, we have to consider that these beings are millions of years ahead of us, and their consciousness is their technology. We carry our technology around as a separate entity. You and I are talking on it. In their reality, their higher consciousness is their technology, and they are biological AI. So they can do their surgeries on me consciously and go in and work on kidneys or work on anything. So all this other crazy ideas of probes and sticking in the eye and all these things, those do not occur, because they don't even use tools or anything like that. They can manifest whatever they want.
Many of them. I mean, there's many different flavors, as I say, many different types with different levels of consciousness and technology.
They would still, even though they would have no need for that kind of stuff.
Our medical procedures are so invasive, so much more invasive. Penny's got a great question here. Sure. Nancy, do you feel that you could be part of them, like a hybrid?
I am an incarnate from the interdimensional realm. They are my family. I am them. And they showed me when I was 30 years old, they opened up a vision to me because I witnessed seeing my two sons taken for the first time. And I was very upset, very angry. I felt helpless, like, there was nothing I could do. But they put me, when they manifested in the room, it was not the same three that come for me. So it was a different three, and they were 3 foot tall and had on very high collars and robes. And they saw that I was sitting up because I knew they were coming. And one walked to me and pressed me back down and said, telepathically told me, this is not about you. Go to sleep. So they put me in a sleep paralysis where I could not move or speak, but I was awake consciously. They wanted me to witness it. So I watched them walk over and take my 2 young children and walk in front of me, and then they blacked me out. And then the next morning, of course, first thing I did was look, and they were perfectly fine. We were all in the same room. We were at a hotel at Key West at a Marriott on the beach. And when I got back from the holiday, I was so upset. And so I meditated in private, and I asked for them to come and please explain to me why this is happening, why me. Because all my life up until that point, I thought it was just me. I had no clue that this was going to involve my children. And I don't claim to be able to summon them or call them. I don't try. And I don't know. They're family to me. I don't have a need for that kind of stuff. But anyway, so they did come on their own time. And the female gray took me aboard a craft and took me in front of what I perceived as a group of elders. Either they told me they were elders, or either that's what my brain, there was a group of a race of interdimensionals, all different men in different clothing, representing different either races or I don't really know. Yeah, star systems or galaxies. I'm not really sure on that. So, and they explained to me that before I became a human being, that I had made a choice to be a part of this process, this evolutionary process for humanity, to help humanity understand that we're not alone, to help with the misinformation, to clear up a lot of, to speak of truth and of true love and experiences, and to just basically, I'm here to help bridge a gap between the human race and the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials. So at the time, did I understand it? No, not all of it. I heard what they said. Did it click? Did I get it? No. So, I went on my merry way. Still at this point, I had really no one to talk to about these things. I had to suppress it. And so it wasn't until, 2 years ago, they gifted me with a Kundalini awakening because they had been giving me downloads, but I kept questioning, where are my downloads coming for? Rather than just listening and accepting it, I was like, how do I know this? Did I just think this? And I was questioning it. So I guess they thought, well, we need to speed this up for her. So they gave me the Kundalini awakening. And so when they did that, it opened up my subconscious into my human consciousness, because I have a extraterrestrial interdimensional consciousness and I have a human consciousness. So it opened it up, and then everything that's ever happened to me, good or bad, I now understand from birth. Even prior to birth, I was interdimensional and chose to come here to Earth, and so did my 2 sons, and they are here to assist and support me. And they are just as much into this as I am. The oldest one has the Kundalini awakenings, the downloads, the experiences like I do. And the young one's just kind of, he knows it all and he has experiences, but he's not ready to tell the world and talk about it or anything. Yeah. So it's a family big effort, but we all came here to support each other. And now it's perfect because I have them. They have me. When I was their age, I had nobody. And I'm hoping that they don't have to go through any of the struggles that I had to go through. So everything
definitely.
that the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials do, good or bad in your life, it always serves a purpose for a higher meaning. And now I realize that when they came for my boys when they were little, and I thought it was horrific and bad, and they could have easily have done that, and I would have never known. They could have just blacked me out to begin with and never, ever let me even have seen that. But it served a higher purpose. Even though I didn't understand it at the age of 30, now at 64, I totally get it. They were letting me know that this is a generational endeavor and that we all came here from that realm to support and be here for each other, because we need that support from each other, because the world is not always pleasant when you come out and put yourself out there like I'm doing, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely changing. It's definitely changing.
It's
So
getting
when you say
better.
it's getting better, so the younger generation are having it so much. You know, like when we woke up, Nancy, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have that way of finding people that understood what we understood. And now the internet, there's like groups all over the world and conferences and teachers, and it's a much kinder place. Sun, I don't know if that's saying your ZSUN, Sun, Dragon. So, you know, basically asked the question and you answered the question. So so you are human but have a hybrid connection from a past life type thing, and then
I
said,
was
okay,
a full-blown interdimensional, and my soul came from the interdimensional. So I'm an incarnate interdimensional having a human experience is what it boils down to. And I know that I still have family that are up there, and I know that they're missing me and waiting on me. And when I go to craft, you know, they do an exam to see about my physical well-being, my mental health. You know, they see whatever toxins or whatever that we're being exposed to down on earth. And they're also checking the spiritual level of humanity and just basically seeing how close we are to our evolutionary ascension process. So, but I know I have family up there, and they're evaluating and watching and looking at me, but they live much, much longer lives than we do. So I'm 64,
I
but
know.
I'm still a baby to them.
You're a baby. Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
a blink in an eye. Human life is a blink in the eye.
Yeah.
So when you say you're a Kundalini awakening, you had a Kundalini awakening, and then you understood why everything happened. So the experience of the Kundalini awakening for you was that memory expansion, that awareness expansion. How did that, when you say, what did that look like?
It was more of an affirmation of what I already knew. But what I didn't know was that I knew I was incarnated, but I didn't know I was interdimensional, because in my human mind, humans are humans, you know. It's just the way that I was brought up, you know, and I didn't have any real understanding of what our soul, you know, that our soul is here in a vessel temporarily, and our soul is immortal. And when we leave this vessel, our soul and our consciousness moves on to other experiences. So, you know, it was a lot on this about my soul, who I really am. And it helped me to dismiss the Nancy Thames that the world around me had created, and look within and understand who my soul self is, who my inner soul self, and that I made a choice to come to earth, and I came here with a purpose. I didn't come here to play the program that the world is putting us in here. From the minute we're born, you know, they're moving us around like chess pieces, and we are their puppets, so to speak, and they're making us play their game. I came here to change the game, to end the game, and to help people to understand that we can have a better human experience than what we've been experiencing for the previous eons. Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that. I came here, I didn't come to play the game, to change the game. I was saying that to a friend the other day who's a businessman, but he's very psychic, and he says it all the time. Oh, it's just a game, you know, it's just a game. We're just playing this game. And I said, yeah, but Nick, you came here to change the game, not play the game. And he kind of looked at me. He went, it is a game here on Earth, but we have come to change the game. And what was I going to ask you? I had a question in my mind before, and I've gone blank. Yeah, okay, here we go. Bible Belt. So you said you're in the Bible Belt, and it was difficult for you to talk about this stuff. Has that changed? Like, what's going on? Like you're in
It's
Louisiana? Is that what you
no,
said?
I'm in Mississippi, and I grew up in
Mississippi,
Tennessee. Yes, and it's
What's
still very much the Bible Belt, but people are what the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials tell me is be patient because we're in an evolutionary process in the middle of ascension. We're already leaving this 3D realm, going into the fourth and going up to the fifth dimension. And a lot of what I'm sitting here to do, evolution will take care of most of it. They were like, be patient, let evolution run its course, because what's going to happen is that every human on this planet, because this is a worldwide phenomena, or they're going to start, we've always just had the five senses that we could use to understand our world around us. But now our visual range is going to increase. Our intuition is going to increase. Our intelligence is going to increase. All these things, our pineal gland is probably going to start to activate. Certain parts of our DNA will start to activate, not overnight. Things have to be done in a very slow, divine way, because this is about all of humanity, and it has to be done so that it doesn't overload the brain, because that's when people would act irrational or crazy. So these things are done in a beautiful design so that by the time it's done, we won't even realize that we're in the fourth or fifth dimension, because it will seem like our world has always been this way. And that's by intentional, beautiful design, because we are all a part of this. And that's why this is my opinion, what I say, humanity, us human beings, we are the disclosure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Extraterrestrials and interdimensionals have been here billions and billions of years. They've watched us all along. It's really nothing new about that. What is new is us as a human species waking up, getting a higher intelligence, higher levels of consciousness, moving into a higher dimension. And dimensions are not physical places, they're higher levels of consciousness. And when nobody's getting left behind, we're not going anywhere. We're all going to be here. It's just that we are going to start realizing that some of these old programmed ways since our birth no longer serve humanity. And we are a race or a generation that wants to see our race continue on for billions of years. And we're at the pivotal moment. Changes have to be made right here, right now. And it has to start with our generation, or we could be ending our civilization or changing the quality of it and going backwards as far more towards more primitive ways by our own abuse and by destruction, using our technology in the wrong ways. Evolution and ascension has to occur. This is part of our evolutionary process to keep us alive on this planet.
Yeah, to keep us going. Well, it has to occur. It is occurring. I mean, it is occurring. We just discussed.
Yes.
Anyone that's operating as a psychic medium, or even understands their intuitive abilities and utilizes that ability, like listens to their gut feeling or listens to their knowing or their downloads, is already operating in the fourth dimension. That is what the fourth dimension is. It's the experience of expansion through awareness. The expansion through awareness is what the dimensions is all about. But I just want to remind people too that you're listening to Karen Swain, ATP Media with Karen Swain, awakening and expanding consciousness on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM syndicated radio across the US and Canada. And obviously we're streaming on the internet on YouTube and Rumble. I think we're on Twitch today too. X is doing funny things. You've got to pay to stream on X now, so we're not streaming on X anymore. Might they changed that recently. And obviously Facebook, Facey. My guest today is Nancy Thames, lifelong contactee. We're talking about her contacts. So you've been in contact with these beings, interdimensional beings you call them, and they look like greys. Are they short greys or tall greys or different flavors?
No, the interdimensionals are about 8 foot tall, 7 to 8 foot tall, and they are luminescent.
Nice.
Some people in biblical days, you hear a reference to the shiny ones. To me, they kind of look like shiny ones because they're luminescent, opaquish. They have some human facial features, but they are definitely not human by any means. They're more of a luminescent, opaquish
light.
type. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're of a
more like a
higher
light body.
frequency. Yeah, higher frequency than grays or reptilians or humanoids, or and when I three hybrid grays come to get me, and they are reddish brown in color. And the one that I'm bonded with is female, and she is designed by the tall grays and the interdimensionals to do the legwork back and forth because the density of Earth is not comfortable. So they created a hybrid to be able to do the legwork. So once she gets me on craft, I don't see her anymore. Then I'm around a mothership that's full of many different races, aquatic beings, reptilians, different kinds of grays, tall grays, humanoids, some species that we don't even know about on Earth that look humanoid from about the waist up, and then from the bottom down, they have more like kind of like animal features and stuff. But they, a lot of times they're fully enclosed and stuff. So it's really, unless you look at their feet, sometimes it's hard to even know. But so I'm around a lot of different races and a lot of different craft, but mainly it's a big mothership. And it's like many races all work together and, in conjunction. And, and that's why they're constantly teaching me about humans remembering our connections, not only to each other, but to ever living conscious being on this planet, such as our Mother Earth, and plants and animals and the water, the trees, the coral reefs, the aquatic life, everything, that we're all connected and all one, and that we're also connected within the universe with them. So everything that happens here on our planet or whatever we do, it not only affects the environment and the planet, but it also ripples out and affects them because we are all one, all connected. Yeah. So that saying, as above, so below, is absolutely true because we're all one.
That's interesting. Yeah. The as above, so below.
And so they consider themselves as all one. So I'm sure there is like a level of difference or whatever, but they don't really emphasize that kind of thing because they consider themselves all one. They all work together. Yeah.
Penny's got a great question here. I had a question too, and I was just reading Penny's question.
Okay.
About the different types on the ships. Nancy, have you ever seen the Sasquatch type on board while you were on the mothership?
On the mothership, no, but I have been on smaller craft that were a group of explorers, and the female gray took me to a smaller craft, and these were all like explorers, or anyway, they were all doing the same thing. I don't know if that's what they call themselves or not, but basically they were looking for creatures, is how they explained it to me, that had jumped a dimension, and this would include your Sasquatch or any creatures that were
the elemental realm, like the gnomes and the fairies and the what do you call them?
If they're creating habit, these group of explorers would go locate them, collect them, and either take them to a new location or take them back to the dimension they belong. So in Bigfoot's case, sometimes a lot of people see them in the general area. When they'll see a UFO, and that is because they don't want us to interact with them because they worry about the safety of the Bigfoot, because humans can be aggressive, and you know what I mean. They can be very ugly
hunters.
Or sometimes a Bigfoot can become over curious about humans and create a lot of drama and fear. So either case, they're just trying to keep a balance, and they will relocate them further into the woods or up in the mountain, or take them back. You know, if they're the problem and they've abused their state, they will take them back and put them back to where they belong. But if they're not bothering anybody, they'll let them explore and, you know, and check out the earth. Because I see extraterrestrials, humanoid extraterrestrials all the time, shopping in malls, shopping in grocery stores, you know, intermingling.
You can pick them out?
But like, I can, their frequency, I sense their frequency. They sense my frequency, because my frequency has changed as I've gotten older. And before, when they used to have to do all the little device to raise my frequency, they don't have to do that anymore. Now they do it. I'm just at a very higher frequency. So I can spot them. I feel it. I mean, it's like the frequency in my body changes, and I pick up on it. So I've seen them. It's really funny because they never dress right. They never get that right, but they always manage to blend. They always manage to blend in to where nobody else seems to even notice it, because telepathically they're communicating with people and they don't even know it. Like I've seen them like be in the back of the line and get themselves all the way up and back to where I was, just so that we could have an interaction. And the people were just like, oh, sure, go ahead. You know, and it's because I know that, you know, they're just saying, move me ahead of you, you know. So, yeah, so it's really neat. And they're just like having fun. You know, they're just, they're just, you know, wanting to see what it's like to be down here and just interact with people. Yeah.
I was having a conversation. Penny says thanks, that she loves the Sasquatch, and thank you. That's really interesting. I was having a conversation with a gorgeous young girl, Angelica, in South Africa the other day, who's helping put on an online conference that I'm a part of, and she was telling me about her experiences, and we were talking about the little greys, like you were talking about your handler, I don't know, person that comes to, what do you call someone that comes to collect you? What do you call that?
Yeah, I don't bother that because
handler.
I love her. Yeah,
you love her, but she's a hybrid. The Galactic Mob have said to me that, you know, these biological life forms that are sort of robotic, the little greys that many people feel fear from because they're little and they don't appear to have any sort of emotion. They are manufactured to be a biological AI life form that can interact on any planet, and they don't have to worry about the frequency or the bacteria of different planets, or the oxygen, or the different air and the different gravity. Like different planets have so many different components to it.
She's biological, and like her skin feels like a dolphin. And
right.
I always, depending on where I am, I always check the temperature of her. I mean, for me, I'm very curious, like, what is the temperature of her skin? So I'm comparing my temperature to her temperature.
To her. Is she cool?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
But the way that it's explained to me, and the way that I know her, she is biological. She is not a robot, but she is task oriented and shows no emotion. And when she's telepathically talking to me, the difference is that I cannot sense inflection. She has no inflection in her messages, and I cannot distinguish that she's male or female. I only know she's female by her frequency. She has a frequency. So that's why I know she's biological, because she gives off a frequency. But when I'm on craft and I'm talking telepathically to grays, and by the way, they can be quite comical at times. The full McCoy, they're funny. They can be comical. But when I'm talking to grays or humanoids or aquatic or the interdimensionals, I can sense male and female in the message, and I can also sense inflection in their messages. Like that's how I would know that they're trying to be funny, or how I would know that they're trying to make a point, because I can feel it's a frequency. Everything is a frequency. Yeah. It's really it's unbelievable.
I'm fascinated. I want to ask what they want humanity to know, but I'm fascinated about the aquatic beings. What do the aquatic beings look like? And as an aquatic being, how do they interact on a ship? I mean, if they're breathing whatever oxygen or carbon dioxide in a water matrix. How does that work?
They can be, well, as a matter of fact, they've even trained me on craft for me to breathe in a gel, like they put me in this tank like thing, and they had monitors to check my vitals and stuff, but they put me in tanks many, many times and was teaching me to be able to breathe a gel and stuff. So these aquatic beings, they can breathe. In other words, they were on the craft that I was on, especially the one that we were looking for, the cryptids and stuff, because there's a lot of, they didn't call them cryptids at the time. They called them creatures, but there's a lot of water beings too. So they were on the craft, and that's where I tried to strike up a conversation with one, but it was more, he wouldn't, basically he ignored me a lot. He did not want to have eye contact with me, and he really didn't want to get too personal with me. He kept his distance, and he, when I would start talking to him and asking him questions, he was fumbling with gear, and he would not really raise his head and make eye contact he was not in a warming way like the others do. So it was strange. And so I got the impression that, that he just really was keeping a distance from humans for whatever reason. I don't know. This was
an aquatic being, being that you're talking about.
Yes.
So how do they wear masks that have water in it? I mean, how do they interact on a atmosphere?
No.
So they can breathe. They can breathe underwater, and they can breathe air. They can breathe both, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So right, they have the capacity to be both in the water and outside the water. Okay.
Yeah, and they're not the most beautiful creatures. He wasn't.
What
ugly,
do they look like?
Black and white, but he had on like a whole suit. But it was just.
We lost her. Hopefully she'll come back. Oh God, don't you love the tech difficulties? Fantastic. I love that movie. What is it? Something, A Taste of Water. Came out a few years ago, set in the 50s in an underground lab. Somebody might know it. Pop it in the chat if you remember it. Something about water. And the cleaner, who's mute, falls in love with a being that they've got locked up, an aquatic being. And it looks like a sort of reptilian, dolphin, humanoid hybrid. It's beautiful. And they have this beautiful love affair, and they have no language they have a language between them. Here she is, she's back. They have a language between them, but they don't have, verbal language. They have like a telepathic or an intuitive language between them. You're back, you popped off. I was just saying that I love that movie. It's something about water, a taste of water, or something about that aquatic being, set in the 50s, and the cleaner in an underground lab falls in love with that beautiful aquatic. I just love that movie. I've watched it many times. They have this love affair, and she abducts him from the labs because they're treating him really badly. They're sort of like humans do. No wonder the Sasquatch don't want to be caught by humans to be prodded and tested on like we do with animals. No wonder they hide from us, honestly.
Yeah.
And she abducts him and takes her home and puts him in the bath. It's hilarious. Anyway, I love that movie. What's the name of the movie? Carol's saying, I love that movie. I love to know the name of that movie. I'll think about it in a minute. I'll Google it. So where were we? We were talking about the aquatic beings.
Yeah, basically, he was real standoffish for whatever reason. I don't think I don't know. I see other humans up there, but not completely all the time. I see more extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, and, but usually it'll just be like a human being, like in passing or something. And they always seem like they know me, which is, like, oh, okay. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know. I've always had good experiences. I'm thankful for that, but I do know and understand that some people don't. But I think a lot of it has to do with their just misunderstanding of what's going on because of the fear, because that dimension, that frequency exchange is unreal. It'll blow your mind for sure.
Yeah. I remember the name of the movie. It's called The Shape of Water. It came out in 2017. The Shape of Water. Yeah, I knew it had water in the. So you've obviously had a lot of contact with different Star Nation races, both telepathically and physically and maybe astrally. What is like, so they're helping humanity raise their consciousness and shift so that they can become a part of the cosmic collective. Now, what did you say in your bio? I loved that.
You know, the closer that we can evolve,
cosmic participation.
What
do they want?
Frequency, that we get closer to being to where it wouldn't be such a dramatic, exchange.
Yeah. What do they want from us?
Well, they don't need anything from us. They played a part. They don't claim to have created us, or they believe in a creator source, and they all have souls. So they played a part in our creation, and they see us as children. They see us as family. So we are a combination of many, many different races, not just one. And that's what is our junk DNA. But, so they have been watching us all this time, and we're now at this pivotal moment to where we understand they are not gods, they are not angels, and they can have a better dialogue with us to where we understand that, and we're finally understanding our uniqueness, because they do not consider themselves over us. They just know that they're more advanced, more intelligent, highly evolved, and they see us as they see us as children going up our DNA ladder, and we're climbing up our ladder just like they did billions of years ago. So they want to see us do it right. They want to assist us. Because humans are here on free will, and people don't remember this, but we all made a choice to come to Earth, and we all made soul contracts. So a lot of people don't even remember that they made an agreement to be part of this evolutionary process for humanity, because we knew, all of us, before we came here, we knew what we were coming here for. We came here with a purpose and a job, and we are starting to all wake up, because this is a worldwide phenomena, and everybody's a part of it, whether they remember it or not, because this is the biggest thing since our creation.
Absolutely. So, this is huge. I mean, what do you think about, since 2017, actually, the disclosure movement that's happening in Parliament, and we had the Congress have meetings about it. What are you thinking about all that, Nancy?
I think they know what I know.
Yeah.
Why come out and tell the world when you know that humans are going through an evolutionary process, an ascension, and with that alone, that is going to have people be more intelligent, more aware, more understanding, a better, less negative. There's so many things that are going to benefit from us ascending and reaching high levels of consciousness. So why in the world would they come out and create drama and anger and negativity when evolution is going to take care of part of the problem for them? And then when we get to that point to where they do, people will be less angry about it, or less negative about it. They'll be more receptive. And I think they're also hoping that the James Webb Telescope is going to find something, and then that would be like it would be a great way to introduce it to humanity, because it won't be like they're hovering around us waiting to land. They're up there. We can't see them because we're in the 3D realm, and our visual range won't let us see them.
Absolutely.
But they're all over the place. So
absolutely.
They're waiting for us to find something. Yeah.
Yeah, our visual scope doesn't allow many, not all, but many people to see their frequency, their vibration, because they're vibing at a different frequency, which is outside the visual spectrum. But also our radars, they do these Hollywood movies of, we've been looking for extraterrestrial life for 70 years with these big machines and we can't find anything. And it just makes me laugh because the technology of the radar system is totally a different frequency to the frequency of ships and their bodies and everything.
And their communication and SETI and all those things.
Yeah, of course it wouldn't pick them up,
They're going about it the wrong way.
They're going about it the right. It's so ignorant to think that, well, I suppose that really science and quantum understanding and spooky action at a distance as quantum entanglement, as Einstein used to talk about it, we have to understand frequency and vibration. 100 years ago, Tesla was talking about it. You can understand the universe through frequency and vibration. And we're thinking that everything that's out there in the universe is physical and holds the same vibration as what's here on Earth. And it just doesn't.
There's no comparison. Our physics.
No comparison.
Our proportion, the way that we travel, nothing is in comparison because even their craft are living conscious beings. And their pilots are genetically designed, male or female. They get in and their consciousness matches up with the craft, and bam, they go through consciousness. And on mothership, they'll use more than one pilot, different links of pilots. But on a small craft, I don't think we'll ever, I know we'll never be able to fly one of their craft. We may reverse engineer and duplicate one, but it still won't be like theirs because theirs flies on consciousness.
Yeah. And I think that, awesome conversation, Vladdy says, and Penny says she agrees. Blows my mind that so many people do not want to talk about this topic. It's the only topic I want to talk about, Penny says. I know how you feel, darling.
Yeah, humans are in the habit of always thinking that we were top of the chain, that, that we were the most intelligent things. And now, we're not. We are wonderful, unique human beings, but we still have a lot to learn about who we are, our souls,
absolutely,
the universe, dimensions, because now we're finding out, scientists are telling us that trees communicate with each other, plants communicate. They're all living conscious beings. But we never even thought about these things, but we're starting to figure out more and more and more. But a lot of people are just not ready to take that step over, but they're going to have to because they're going to start seeing it for themselves at some point.
Yeah, I know. We've been so distracted. I was watching something. Penny's got another awesome question. I'll get to you in a minute, Penny. I was watching something on television that was set in the 50s, and they were showing, television when it was black and white and terrible.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of talk back then of ETs, and then it was suppressed. Like what they were talking about in that Congress is that the ET phenomena, which was huge in the 40s and the 50s, and people were like, oh yeah, there's craft in this. And it seemed to be like, nobody thought it was crazy. There was this like conditioned program that came out to suppress the communication about it and awareness about it, and everyone started to think. It started to happen in the 50s and the 60s. Like the hippies came out, and the spiritual revolution ramped up in the 60s, and that was suppressed. Oh, you dirty, filthy hippies, and oh god, there's a whole lot of stories around that. They had mass murderers, and they called them hippies, and then hippies were turned into criminals. And if you talked about aliens, you were crazy. I think that all started in the 50s and the 60s and ramped up in the 70s, and then in the 80s, if you weren't into money and fashion, and you weren't. It's amazing. So it's all sort of they've tried their darndest to stop us thinking about it, to stop us.
Well, that's how they control human beings. They control us. They manipulate and control us and play us like little puppets or
puppets. Yeah.
So, if they can keep us in fear, that limits us and it makes us unable to ascend. And it also, that's the way that they control our population and control the world. And they like being in control and making all the decisions. But as we ascend, they're not going to be in control anymore. They're going to lose their power and start losing money. And we're going to start having longer lifespans, and they can't make money off of healthy intelligent human beings. Yeah.
That's another question about, I'll ask you after I ask Penny's question about money. You know, I'm sure you're not up on ships buying your sandwich in the canteen and using money. Nancy says here, I'm going to Egypt in a few weeks. What is your understanding of the connection of the beings you interact with and that area? Thank you, she says.
I don't really ask them a lot of questions like that. Most of the things that they're teaching me or discussing with me are on a humanity level.
Yeah.
You know, and then some are just personal issues I go through my life. You know, I had a whole ordeal about wanting to understand. I'm 64, single, been single a long time. And it seems like some people find their soulmate. And I don't think I've ever found my soulmate. So, you know, it's really strange because I don't ask them that, but they know everything I think. So sometimes, you know, it's an experience or an education type experience to where they're helping me understand certain things about the process of humans and, you know, how for me, you know, like I thought that meant a sexual partner, but soulmates can be more than one and they can be all kind of different relationships. And, you know, and it's just bizarre. So some of the interactions are not always like everything history related about Earth or anything like that. And I don't, to be honest with you, a lot of times I'm so in awe of the experience that, you know, I don't think of, you know, I don't think about stuff like that. If the only way that I could do that is to meditate like here and now, and then later they would probably address it with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the whole soulmate thing. I believe we're all souls, we're all mates, so we're all soulmates, but different souls, beings, parts of consciousness have different agreements with different people to be lifelong partners or not, either sexual, romantic, working partners, brothers and sisters, you know, like the whole, you know, the higher consciousness don't buy into this twin flame soulmate romantic. That is a human story, because we're rolling around in the mud and the mire down here in perpetual fear and feeling separated. So we invented this romance stories, you know, to feel the love, that these people feel as their default setting. They feel that love, which we call romantic love.
Yeah.
For everyone, yeah. But I want to go back to the Egyptian. I'm going to answer Penny's. So Egypt is on the walls, you know, it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh God, I've gone blank. But we have evidence. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Evidence. Yeah, the hieroglyphs. We have evidence of when extraterrestrials walked the earth, you know, thousands of years ago, because it's on the walls of the Egyptian, you know, walls. And because you talked about being up on the ships, Nancy, and seeing beings that had human tops and animal bodies, and, you know, on the walls of Egypt we've got beings that have human bodies and animal heads. But there are so many different types of ETs throughout the cosmos. Egypt has documented on the walls of the Egyptian pyramids and temples and whatever, it's documented what we see as mythological creatures, but creatures that did walk the earth with humans, that were alien beings or ET beings that were here at one point before we moved too far into density and polluted our planet the way we have now. So it's beautiful to see that. Yeah, it's amazing.
I've never been, but everyone tells me that they experience something in the frequency. There's still, it's a vortex or late grid line or something, but people feel something while they're there. You know, they experience something, a feeling. So I would love to experience that. So oh wow, that's amazing. She's so lucky to get to go. She needs to really just meditate while she's in there.
Well, there's a group of people coming out here. The star, I had them on last week. Viviane Chauvet and Prageet and Melissa. Anyway, no, I've gone blank on her name. The Stargate Experience. Do you know those people?
I know,
Stargate, and they were in Egypt doing some activations and downloads not too long ago, and they were told to connect the ley lines, to reactivate the ley lines from Egypt in Uluru in the center of Australia. So what's happening now in those times where the Egyptians where the ETs were walking the earth with humans, we lived in a totally different energetic grid structure, and then we fell into density and they no longer came, and we rolled around in, you know, our history, basically fighting and killing each other going through disease and what have you. But those energetic grid structures who have been dormant on our planet are reactivating. And so they're coming out in September, October to reactivate some grid structures that are connected to Egypt. So yeah, it's exciting to listen to what the different work that people are doing around the world to make this environment more comfortable for our ET neighbors, because as it's being, people say, why don't they land on the White House lawn? I mean, if it hurts to be here, why would you, when you can communicate telepathically or bring us up on the ships? I mean, like being inside, when I was opening my psychic abilities, going to the supermarket was torture for me because I could feel everyone's negative emotions around me. And I had to learn to cope with that. And many intuitives and empaths talk about this. And this is what the ETs feel when coming to planet Earth, like hearing, you know, feeling all the negativity that people
they don't like that.
They don't like it. Why would they come? But so as we ascend, as you say, Nancy, and we shift out of our fear and move more into unity and love, it's easier for them to be here. What's Penny saying here? She says,
that's why they created that hybrid to do their leg work, because
exactly.
I'm super.
She's excited. Thank you, ladies. I can't wait to feel the energy. I'm having dreams about certain beings. Happy about me coming there. Yeah, we'll have to hear your experiences, what your experience. I went to Egypt years ago and I loved it. I remember having full-blown memory of what it was like to be there when the pyramids were glowing white and totally active, and like 20,000 years ago. I had full-blown memory. And I was even talking to some of the guides and saying, you see those hills out there? There's so many more tombs in there. Oh, no, we've dug them all up, because this is over 20 years ago, 2004 it was. Oh, no, we've dug up all the tombs. There's no many tombs. And I said, no, in those hills over there, there's massive. I was telling him all this stuff. And then a few years later, they started digging up all the tombs. And I'm like, told you.
Yeah.
Whether he remembers, I don't know. Told you. But it is tourist center, you know, like everyone's trying to sell you something and rip you off and all that sort of stuff. But it is fascinating to be there.
You have to get past all that and just block it out and then see it for what it really is. Well, that's amazing. I'm so proud she's going to get to do that. That's going to be amazing. Yeah,
exactly. A lot of groups go there, but the governments don't like it when you gather together in groups and do conscious things. I don't know how the Stargate experience and Vivian managed to do it. It was a small group. Yeah, it's all in the save. Yeah, Sun's saying it's all in the save, the cave drawings. Why isn't it? UFO aliens. Yeah, exactly. And it's been documented through our Indigenous tribes, both Australian Indigenous and American, and all over the world, really. It's the Star Nation beings, or aliens as they've been called, have been documented on the walls of caves. Yeah, absolutely. It's no mystery.
They're everywhere. There's indications everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know, people just, I don't know why they don't, you know, it's obvious, you know, but it
is obvious. It's really obvious.
Yeah. Some people just only see what they want to see. But I've been to all the South American Mayan ruins and stuff in Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico, all through there. And I always felt like kind of like a deja vu feeling, or it's definitely different. And it wasn't as crowded as probably what it is in Egypt. I imagine Egypt gets a lot of tourists.
Yeah, but, it does.
Yeah, but any of those places, I just think that it's very significant in helping us to understand maybe some of our true origin and stuff. So that's amazing.
So Nancy,
Uluru.
Oh, you want to come? You should come out in October. They're going to be in there. It's only a small group of people, but I'll send you the information. You might want to come, or anybody else that's out there. Maybe you want to come down to be a part of it. Yeah, the Stargate connection, Prageet and Julie. I think it's Julie. Oh, God. She didn't end up coming on the show because she had another meeting. So I only spoke to Prageet. There was supposed to be the two of them last week. But I've totally forgotten her name. But yeah, they're coming down mid-September, and they're traveling around. They're going to do some, but their work is very much a global activation. They get people together in groups to meditate, to create a consciousness that will change the consciousness, like critical mass, change the consciousness of the human collective. Yeah, it's a beautiful what
I
they're
met
doing.
a girl that went with a group to the Bermuda Triangle, and they worked on it. So
yeah, wow.
I've never done anything like that. It's way out of my league, but I find it fascinating. Yeah.
But with your experiences, so you had a lot of experiences as a child and maybe a young adult,
Yeah.
and but in your 60s,
Yep.
are they still taking you physically up on
Yes.
ships?
Yes.
They are?
Yes.
Wow. When
But
was the last time?
The last time I went was when I was in Mexico.
Yeah.
And well, I've been on craft, but really, really big time was when I was in Mexico, about almost a year. But they had me go down, my son and I, they instigated us to go down to Mexico City. And then we went up to some mountains to, it's called San Jose del Pacifico. And we had to drive 3 hours up into the mountains where it was very isolated, very secluded. There was no tourists, no English, no ATMs, no internet, no very little cell coverage. And it was, you had to find hot spots. But so I was up there for 7 days with my son, and they came to see us every single day, not at the same time. They won't ever take us at the same time because we don't pay attention like we're supposed to. We're like little kids, we're too worried about what the other one's feeling or whatever. So they will never take us at the same time. And we figured out at that point, I have my 3 that come from me, which I know the female, he has his own 3. And the only thing, when they come for him, they'll tell me, this is not about you. And I just roll over, go back to sleep. Yeah.
So when that happens, Nancy, do you have full memory, or do you have partial memory, or does it come back to you gradually, or do you go into meditation to have more, like, how does it all work?
Well, I know before they're coming. And so, or either they do it different ways. I don't know why, but sometimes I know before they're coming, and when that happens, I have time to get ready. But then sometimes I'll just become conscious, and I'll be standing right next to her, next to my bed, and we'll be holding hands. And then while I was at that cabin, and I looked over at my son, because he was like trying to get up because he was feeling them, I guess, too. But they had him in a sleep paralysis.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, but yeah, it's just a different way. They do it different ways, and I don't really know why. But down in Mexico, I was just standing there, and it was just, we stood just there in the room for a pretty good while. She was just letting me, touch her and feel her and all that stuff. And then she tapped me out, because for whatever reason, the way that they didn't teleport me the old fashioned way, this was a new way, and I have to be blacked out to do it, because then I go up on craft, and they show me all these things. They show me visions of the trees and the plants and all this stuff talking, and all the thing about being connected that I told you earlier. But when I started to come back, they blacked me out. And then they blacked me out to come back to home, the cabin. And as they did, they let me become conscious as they were walking me to the bed, and I could see my son over with the nightlight on, and then they were getting me in the bed. But I felt the most unbelievable vertigo. I mean, it was like, how when you're a kid, you would just start spinning around.
Yeah.
Until you couldn't stand anymore.
Yeah. You did. Yeah.
So it was some kind of teleportation that they were having to do because of whatever's going on, like with the solar flares, or because where we were in Mexico. I don't quite understand it all, but I do know that there is a ley line right in that area. There is it's some kind of vortex or whatever. So apparently that's why they wanted us to go there, because they picked the spot. We didn't pick it. They told us to go there.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it makes it easier. There's different.
So we went to where they wanted us to go, and then they wanted me and my son to meet these indigenous people and spend time with them, and to understand that our connections with everything on the planet, and with how the indigenous people they have understand their connections with nature. And so my son went out in the woods and spent time with these people. And for me, they would come and get me at night, because I'd never be able to go out and trek through the woods like he did. I'm just not physically able to do that.
We're running out of
like a steep incline all the way. That there's no way.
We've only got about 10 minutes left, and I really want to know, or maybe 5 minutes left. Have they ever, when you're up on the ships, have they ever shown you probable futures of planet Earth? Because I've spoken to a lot of people that, like on screens and stuff, like, if you guys don't get your crap together, this is what's going to happen, or this is what's possible. Like, I should have asked you this question before.
Well, they open up visions. For example, when I was in Mexico with my son and with them, or actually my experiences with them, he's not a part of that experience, and when he has his experience, I'm not with him. They keep us separate. But anyway, they wanted to talk to me about AI, and how AI is a man-made tool, and how it can be the betterment of human beings. But we have to get through this ascension and start to elevate and become better human beings and more
absolutely.
But as we start realizing that we've been programmed and stuff, then we'll use AI in a beautiful way. And they were showing me how it will change humanity. And I could see how jobs will be created in different ways, and people will work less hours, have more family time, and we will learn to let AI make a lot of the things that we need. And money will not be such a big issue anymore, and people will take jobs, and we will not call them jobs. They will be like service to self, service to family,
right? Services,
and we'll work maybe for whatever hours during the week. And that way we will be part of the community, but it will not be dominating our life, and we'll have more family time. So they've shown me lots of beautiful things.
I come from the future. I felt like that as a kid, and I come from a future time where money isn't a part of it, and I find it so interesting to be in this money matrix thing. And one of my frustrations being here at this time is that we still do have this monetary system that is the cause of so many of the problems on Earth, because people are money hungry and corrupt.
And that we can't change, but we can if we have the things that we need. And we don't have to work the extra jobs. We don't have to do manual labor. AI will be doing these things for us, and then we will enjoy life. There will be no need to keep up with the Jones, so to speak, because
keep up with the Joneses.
And as we become higher levels of consciousness, these things are not going to matter anymore anyway. So evolution is going to take care of a lot of this for us.
A lot of people talk about AI as being a terrible thing, but I see it like a knife. You can cook a beautiful meal with a knife and feed a family, or you can kill someone with a knife. It just depends on the consciousness wielding the knife.
It's
the same with the AI. You can create amazing amount of freedom for humanity, or you can control humanity with it, but it just depends on the consciousness that's yielding the AI. It's got nothing to do with the AI itself.
We got to work on ourselves within. Start within, work on ourselves. Try to be better. We'll never be perfect. We're human. There's no way we'll ever be perfect, but we have to work and try.
So Son says, great show. Yes. And Carol Ann said, have you ever found artifacts that have helped you understand your galactic origins on your trips?
Not really. They told me always choose blue, and they always use blue orbs, and they've had me gift blue orbs like to different races, because I'm telling the world about them. So I represent them to humanity, but I represent humanity to different races, and I'm kind of like an example. I'm the subject they sent down here, so when I go to meet a new race, I give them a blue orb, which is the essence of Earth, the essence of what human beings are, the beautiful things that we are. And I truly believe we're beautiful beings.
Blue orbs. I see blue orbs all the time. I see different colored ones, but blue are the main ones. So you say that blue orb is the color of humanity.
Yes, because Earth is blue. We are Earthlings. To them, we're not white, black, or Indian, or Chinese or whatever. We are earthlings, in that we are in. So the summation of humans is in a blue orb, and it is gifted, like different races gift their the essence of what they know of humanity to each other.
Yeah. But there are many extraterrestrial races that do create a frequency of blue as well, specifically that sort of indigo, turquoise, blue. They emanate that frequency, which is that color. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes to go, Nancy.
Okay.
Any last thing that you'd like to say before we finish? And thanks to everyone that's joined us and all your questions. It's been great to see you all online. Thanks, Sun and Vladdy and Penny and Carolyn and Diane and all these people, fabulous
Thank
people
you for
online.
the I love answering questions.
Carol.
It changes these podcasts up and gives me the opportunity to, just to interact. I love it. But anyway, I want to tell people, you don't have to believe anything I say. You shouldn't believe anything anybody says. Look within. Follow your heart. Ask your subconscious to open up into your human consciousness, because we all chose to be here, whether we remember it or not. And we're all a part of this. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and it is a humanity issue. So we are all one, and we are all connected, and we are the disclosure, because we are understanding who we are, figuring out that there's life all around us. And just because we can't see it, it's there, it's happening. And we're opening up to new opportunities, and we have everything in the world to look forward to, regardless of what the news says. Pay less attention to the negative things, replace negative thoughts with 2 positive thoughts, and look at the beautiful things of Earth, because we live in a beautiful world and we have everything to be proud of. We are earthlings, and we have lots of potential, and we're going to start seeing beautiful things.
Absolutely. And Nancy's very active with different groups online, especially on Facebook.
Yes.
You've got a Facebook group, Time for Disclosure. Is that what's the name of the Facebook group?
Yes, Time for Disclosure / We've Never Been Alone / We Are the Disclosure, because human beings are the disclosure. Yeah.
I forgot to post this in the Facebook group.
I know,
I'll have to go.
and then
but she's very active online. And timefordisclosure.com is the website. And your profile page is Nancy Thames, spelled Thames, if you want to contact her. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful to have you on the show. And thanks everybody that's been listening. And remember, if you're wanting to connect with our show, thanks, Shirley. Oh, yes, we are the disclosure. Absolutely, Shirley says. If you want to connect with loved ones in another dimension and ask some questions or receive a message, just go to my website, karenswain.com, and send me an email, or join up to our newsletter. I send out a newsletter saying when we're going to do that. And I also send out newsletters when I am putting on different courses. We do psychic awareness courses and practicing our psychic abilities, and I'm going to be doing some healing courses, changing our DNA, upgrading our DNA, changing the telomeres so that you look younger, stay younger, live longer. If you want to, you might not want to. You might want to get the hell out of here. But we can change our experience here on Earth through our conscious awareness. And if you're interested in that, I am doing some of those things, and as well as the shows. So thanks, everybody. What have we got left? I'm always still got a couple of minutes to go. There's lots of love online. I think I've stopped it too early. 2 minutes to go. So I'm rambling here. Good to see you all. And the website again is karenswain.com, and my email address is info@karenswain.com, or you can go to accentuatethepositiveradio@gmail.com, which is the radio show. I've been doing this for about 15 years. Who's coming up next week? Let's have a look at who's coming up next week. I've been booked out to the end of the year with people coming through, but there's a lovely, beautiful lady called Heather Mays who's coming on next week, who's been psychic since she was a kid, and she is also connected to her galactic mob, her galactic team, and an energy healer, and she had some shared near-death experiences. So that's coming up next week on the show. Thank you again for tuning in. Big love to all of you, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.